On today's show, our biggest questions about the Dallas Mavericks. Can the Mavs win enough for Luka to win MVP? Can Kyrie Irving improve the non-Luka lineups? We'll talk about all that and more and answer them on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
We have Kyrie.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
Everyone's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day on any podcast platform. Leave a 5-star review, like the video on YouTube, and comment anything below. Comment one question you have about the Dallas Mavericks this season. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me for the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel with spectacles of pink and red.
And
What
love.
you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Feeling loving today. Spreading the love.
Spectacles of love.
You know, just getting ready. You got the Mavs Twitter tournament coming up. I don't know what day
Yeah.
this is going to be dropping. So in the coming days, just icing, training, lifting, steroiding.
You're a 7-footer. You gotta be ready.
That's right. I'm in the chamber. I almost said crypto chamber. Is that what it's called?
Cryo chamber.
Chamber.
Cryotherapy, the crypto chamber.
The crypto chamber.
The crypto chamber is like what Tesla's gonna make next, like the Cybertruck, the crypto chamber.
Got it. We kind of sound sick.
Mine Bitcoin as you drive through the streets.
Sign me up.
Today we're asking one big question about the Mavs, about Kyrie, and about Luca. We'll start with Luca. One of my biggest question about Luca going into next season is, can the Mavs win enough to get him MVP? Because I think that's the next step for him. And there's a bunch of questions about him, but it really, if you're not going to do health, then to me it's about winning the MVP. Should that matter? Should the MVP matter at all for us going into this season?
Yes, I think it is. I think there was one famous athlete, and I don't remember who it was, but pretty much said that players striving for individual awards is a good thing because that means they're playing well. And that means that usually the team plays well. So Luka striving for an MVP, the team striving for Luka to get an MVP is good because just in the history of basketball, it's not baseball where just anybody could get it, even if your team is terrible. Typically the MVP is on a top 2 or 3 seed historically. Now that hasn't been the case in recent years. There's been exceptions made, but I guess last year Luka's 34-point triple-double wasn't good enough with 50 wins. But that's neither here nor there. I think it's cool if that's something that they're really striving towards.
Yeah, I think his health is definitely a big question, but I feel like the MVP is the biggest one. Is like how many wins can they get to 55? If they can get to 55, they get 5 more wins than last season. We talked about the over-unders, 50 and a half. Can they get to 55 and all of a sudden like that's you're in a scenario where you are you're competing for an MVP right there. You're in the conversation. You can't use team success against you if you get to 55 wins. Or will it be a Western Conference like it was not last year but the year before, where the top team in the West won 53 games? And then you're one of those teams up there, like 51 games. The Grizzlies were number 2. The Mavs would have been the 3rd best team in the West if they won the same number of games they did last year. They did 2 years ago. And so then all of a sudden he's in the conversation anyway. So I really do think it's not about wins necessarily, that it is more about position in the West. That becomes the talking point more so than wins, or we never talk about winning percentage or anything like that, even when they played less games. And so I think it is that. But I think to answer the question, I think the Mavs can get enough wins. I think the Mavs will be better. The Mavs were better at the end of the season last year, adding PJ and Gafford. We did the episode on Monday where we talked about who is the Mavs' 3rd best player. And the answer to that question, whether it's Lively or Klay or PJ, is way better of an option of answers than it was 2 years ago when it was Grant Williams or Josh Green or Tim Hardaway Jr. So then all of a sudden you're like, all right, I think this team is set up. They're prepared. They don't have guys where you have like. It's kind of hard to come up with big questionable things. It's, can Klay's defense work well in the scheme? Can Lively take a step forward and not take a sophomore slump? Those are the kind of like curious things about. Does Kyrie drop off at all because he's an aging small guard? I mean, those are the things that we're talking about, and those are like a stretch even.
Yeah, I mean, are we doing the Mavs questions right now? Or are we staying with the Luka MVP question?
Staying with Luka, yeah.
Okay, because I agree that they should easily top their 50.5. We did that a week ago when we talked about their win total. I think they should easily clear that. And that should be enough to put Luka right in the middle of the MVP conversation. And here's the thing. We experienced this past year when it comes to the MVP. It is a very heavily narrative-driven award. That's not to say that Jokic didn't deserve it. Jokic was awesome this past season. If you just thought he was the MVP of the league, fine, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. But a big reason why everyone's like, it's Jokic, and people weren't really interested in listening to any other arguments was because the year before we did the whole Jokic and Embiid thing, and everyone was almost like, all right, just give Embiid it. And then Jokic won to win the finals and the finals MVP, and then everyone's like, all right, we kind of have to rectify what just happened a season ago. Now, are they going to give Jokic his 4th MVP in 5 years this upcoming season? Whoa. I really struggle to see that happening. It's possible because Jokic is that good. Is it going to be Embiid again? I struggle to see that being the case just because, again, we were just coming off of another postseason disaster for him. This is like the year for Luka in a lot of ways, where he's coming off of a finals run. He's coming off a Western Conference Finals MVP. He's coming off an absurd season where some people, mostly Mavs fans, thought that he should have won the Most Valuable Player award. And he's the betting favorite again entering the season. I think this is like the 4th straight year that Luka is the betting favorite for MVP. Something absurd like that.
He's going to get one of those.
He's got to get one of them. It's why I've said in the past, I think there's some voter fatigue for an award that he's never won. I actually think that there's some. Oh, yeah. Well, Luka, we know Luka's averaging a 30-point triple-double. Yeah, well, that's what he does.
Well, we've talked about his stats get held against him in a way because there's the goalpost move for the goalpost move for him because all of a sudden Shea puts up numbers that are close to Luka's but not even close to Luka's, and then you go, oh my God, how amazing is it? And you're like, Luka has been doing that since his 2nd year in the league. To go back to the Jokic thing, winning his 4th. I think Jokic is done winning MVPs. I don't think there's any way because here's who's won 4.
Okay.
LeBron James.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain, both won 4. Bill Russell won 5. Right. Michael Jordan 5 and Kareem 6.
That is a crazy list. Yeah, that's kind of tough to imagine, but also at the same time, I didn't think he would win his 3rd. I actually didn't think that they would give him a 3rd.
Yeah, because he's with Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Moses Malone.
Oof. Yeah, it sounds stupid what we're saying, but this is how this award is viewed a lot of the times. It is a very, very narrative-driven award. So, at the goalpost, people who view my channel and stuff can attest that I've never been on this Luka's unfairly treated by the media narrative stuff. This past year was weird. It reached weird levels at times when he dropped the 73 points and everyone was like, defense sucks. It's not even impressive. It's embarrassing actually what's happening in the NBA. All of the postseason stuff, the Windhorse rant where he just, when was the last time you saw a beat reporter essentially just have a tactical airstrike like that of a player? That was insane. That was bizarre.
I mean, we had the Brian Damaris, James Harden.
Right.
You're the problem, but that's a little different.
That's a local reporter, kind of going at poking the bear a little bit.
But those are the examples.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. That was really bizarre, and it's the goal, like you said, the goalpost continuously moved. It was well, Luka doesn't win. It's well, they won 50 games. And then you dive deeper into how injured they were. It's really impressive what they did. Well, we don't care. He doesn't play defense. Well, he did play defense. If you watched.
I tried. How could the team be the number 1 defense the last 2 months with
blow by percentage? A stat that has never been used ever until it was debuted. A stat I know it's been a stat, and I'm sure teams look at it. I have never seen that stat used on ESPN or any other broadcast network.
What's more important of a stat? Blow by percentage or kitchen sink?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, Luka actually led the playoffs in kitchen sink. I'm not joking.
Did he really? Yeah, I actually don't even. I do this. This is my job. I don't even know how to find kitchen sink, but it's an advanced stat that was Jokic was leading, and so that was part of the case for Jokic was that he was leading the NBA in kitchen sink.
Kitchen sink win probability added.
Yeah, coming up, let's talk about Luka a little bit more with his health. I think that can be a big question. And then I've got a couple questions about Kyrie. Can he help improve the non-Luka lineups? Because they were actually not that good last year. Let's talk about that coming up.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We talked about the win totals, the over-unders. They still got those for the NBA. You can go and put some money down on those. They also have the NBA Cup, which is kind of interesting that they already have that up. The Mavs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. They have the 7th best odds, plus 1,800 to win that. They're tied with the Suns, the Nuggets. So right there, Mavs and Luka and Jokic, rivalry again. The Celtics are the number 1 team for the NBA Cup, plus 450. But you can also do the regular season wins. You can go check awards. We just talked about MVP. Slightly said he was the betting favorite. He is plus 3,500 or plus 350 for Luca, plus 360 for Jokic, plus 550 for SGA. Embiid is plus 650. Giannis is plus 750. Then Anthony Edwards. I want to see where Jason Tatum is plus 2,800. No, I don't think that one's ever going to happen. So go check out FanDuel. They have boost bonus daily for everyone. Go check it out again at FanDuel.com. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you're listening to this right now, and it's a Thursday, if you're listening on Thursday, I'm on Locked On NBA today. Pat, the designer, and me will be breaking down the NBA, so go make your second listen, Locked On NBA, on Thursdays with myself. The other days are great, too, but Thursdays is the best one. That's the one you want to listen to. Mm-hmm. Slightly.
Hey.
You had a question about Luca and his health. That was your next big Luca question.
Oh, that's just my big Luka question, is how healthy he's going to be over the course of the season, and how healthy he's going to be entering the season. Is there going to be lingering knee issues? If so, that's very scary, and that's opening up a whole other can of worms. If he's ready to go at the start of the season, can we get Luka to the playoffs as close to 100% as possible? Because it wasn't anywhere close this year, and I can't believe, anytime you bring this up, like I brought this up, I saw clips on Twitter of him just eviscerating the Timberwolves, and he did. He just eviscerated them. And I mentioned how it was crazy he did that on a hobbled knee. There's people in their replies like, I can't believe Mavs fans are still doing this, fake injury thing. It's like, dude, we watched him play all season long. Like, he was
on the injury report every game in the playoffs. He was every single game.
Bleeding from the knee. I talked to doctors on streams who are like, I don't know what that is. That is some strange ailment we've never seen before. So, I mean, literally, he had an injury that they've never seen before.
Yeah, my question on health was going to be, can he maintain his health? So like you said, can they get him healthy enough for the playoffs? And can he keep it? Because we've seen Luka come into training camp in shape, having a break, hiring the personal trainer, hiring the personal chef, all that kind of stuff through the offseason, cleaning his plate and making sure that he gets all the protein and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, during the season, you go, does Luka look like thicker than he did at the beginning of the season? It's weird. So can he maintain that during the season? I think is going to be, it's probably the biggest question about him as a player that we can ask.
Yeah, I mean, right, because you know who he is.
Yeah.
If it looks like he just drank 14 Miller Lights the night before and housed 2 large pizzas, he's going to show up and drop 30, 10, and 12.
If he drank 14 Miller Lights, then Michael Finley's not doing his damn job.
Hey. I'm not going to tell a man how to live his life. Finley, I'd like to imagine Finley just watched like a binoculars. Yeah, he just grabbed the second Miller Light. Get in there. Someone get in there. Get it out of his hand.
He's got an intern like staking out like Luka's house.
But if Luka shows up, it looks like he just came from the beach. He's tan. He's slim. You're getting 34, 9, and 10. Like, what you're getting from Luka. But it does feel like, I agree with you. Can we get him to where this season's coming to a close? Looks good. He's, just physically looks good. He's quick.
Yeah.
Just be better for him.
I tried to come up with one. I had a bunch of questions for him, but I tried to come up with one like actual basketball one for him, and it's, can his 3-point shooting? Was his 3-point shooting an outlier last year? Because you and I have both on your stream and on this show, I've gone through and like he was the second best 3-point shooter in the NBA last year in the regular season, which is kind of why his playoff stuff was wild. How it swung from terrible to like terrible, can't shoot a 3 at all to like great in some games, but. I mean, 38% on 10.5 threes a game was wild, and that was it's an outlier year for him so far. Is that going to be closer to the norm, or is it going to be an outlier? That's my one like basketball question for him. Is what does that shooting look like next year?
Yeah, and I guess that, and let's say it is a bit of an outlier season. What's going to be the adjustment to that? Is it going to be we're toning down the threes, or is it still going to be, hey, I'm at 31% from 3 this year, but I'm still putting up 10.5 to 11 a game? Or is there going to be like I'm taking less threes, I'm getting to the rim a little bit more, and with Klay Thompson in the fold, my threes volume-wise are being made up elsewhere on the roster?
Yeah, well, could this be the first year that somebody other than Luka leads the Mavs in threes per game?
That would be surprising.
I actually kind of want to look that up.
It's possible. I mean, he had 10.5 last year. Before that, his previous career high was 8.9 threes a game, 3 attempts a game. So, I mean, there's a world where all right. I'll piggyback on yours and ask another basketball-related question. Is this the year where we finally see Luka's usage take a real dramatic downtick?
It did go down after the trades like last year.
Yeah.
We did see it because it wasn't in the 30. Okay, the one time that Luka didn't lead the team in 3-point attempts was 2019. Tim Hardaway took 7.4 a game in the 19 games he played when he got traded.
So his rookie year.
2018-19. So yes, his rookie year, yeah.
Yeah, because that's still crazy that he put up 7 threes a game as a rookie.
Yeah,
and didn't practice. According to him, didn't even practice the step back. Just did it in an NBA game. I was like, I just do that now.
That's him.
Insane.
I think this could be the year because Klay's going to take some usage. I think Kyrie's going to take some usage. I think even sneaky Najee Marshall takes a couple passes a game. We talked about PJ on Monday about his case to be the third best player. That case is him posting up and doing some extra things with the ball and things like that. And I think that he should play less, which I guess it wouldn't change his usage percentage necessarily, but it would change his overall player usage, which is less minutes, less, all that.
Right. I mean, he was at 36 usage last year in the regular season, which was the most in the league, but that was 33 in the playoffs. So it did go down. And like you said, after the trade deadline, it just kind of progressively went down. So I think that's a good thing ultimately for him. It's just less wear and tear on his body. And that kind of leads me into my Mavs question.
Go for it.
I'm really interested to see the approach. Do the Mavericks view themselves as an 82-game team where we're fighting in the regular season to ensure that we're in the playoffs and doing X, Y, and Z? Or do they view themselves, we're a 16-game team, a 16-game season team? We're focused on the playoffs. We want to be healthy in the playoffs. We want to have, we want to make sure our rotations are tight for the postseason. That's what I'm interested in seeing. Because teams, that happens to teams. When they're we're a playoff team, we know what we're capable of. The playoffs is what we're focused on.
The Clippers every single year did that. The Clippers every year did. The Nuggets, I think, did that not last year, but the year before. They actually overcorrected last year because you look at 2022 when the Nuggets were the number one team. No, 2023, the Nuggets were the number one team, and they went for it, and they went for number one, and they're like, we don't know that worked out. And then all of a sudden last year, they really tried to get that number one, and it didn't work out for them.
And
LeBron
teams are infamous for this.
Yeah. That's interesting. I feel like this team will have something to prove in the regular season. I think they have enough young guys to where they'll be motivated to play really hard in the regular season to prove some stuff. Klay's got stuff to prove, all that. But then you've got the two stars, and the two stars, our questions for them are about health. Can Luka maintain his health? Kyrie played 58 games last year. Can he be healthy for the playoffs? It was kind of lucky in a way for him to be healthy throughout all the playoffs, basically. Yeah. And so is there any maintaining for them to be doing? And I think those are the two areas with Luka and with Kyrie and their health that we could see the team look at us being the team being a 16-game team instead of a regular season team.
Because is there going to be a 25-game regular season stretch like the one Luka had last year where he's at 40 minutes a game? Oof. I can't imagine that's something that happens again during this regular season. That's why you go out and get a Klay. That's why you go out and get a Dinwiddie again. That's why you give yourself optionality. If it's all right, we don't care that Kyrie's maybe missing this game. Luka, you cannot play 42 minutes in this random January 18th game. It can't happen.
And kids got to say no, right? Even if Luka wants to, he's got it because he's got to maintain his health. Yeah, that's an interesting question for the Mavs. If they're going to be more focused on the regular season or they are just, all right, let's just get to the playoffs and see what happens. I think the seeding also could matter to them, just like the Nuggets last year where we saw them go, man, we really, really want to get that top seed.
But last year was they were the 5th seed. They didn't have home court in any series, and they made the conference and they made the finals. So they probably don't look at it like that. Might not. I mean, the players will play to win. I'm not saying the players are going to go out there and be we don't care. Just fast forward to April.
Yeah, but it's how
organizationally.
Yeah, organizationally how they approach it. Coming up, I'm curious how I got one question for Kyrie Irving that maybe not be the one that you're thinking about, and then I got a couple questions for the Mavs roster too that we'll get into coming up.
Shut it down! Let's go home! Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
I wish it was game day. It's not.
I know.
I just wanted to hear Dirk's voice again. Do you see the picture with Dirk and Sha'Carri Richardson?
Yeah.
So Dallas.
Dallas icons, baby.
This is so Dallas. That's awesome. That video of her in slow motion when she's doing the 4x1 and she's running past that girl and like does the little look over and then keeps going. Oh, iconic.
So cool.
Iconic. My question for Kyrie Irving. We're going through big questions we have for Luka, Kyrie, and the Mavs themselves. My question for Kyrie, can he improve the non-Luka lineups? Because you look at last year, and when Luka was not on the floor and Kyrie was, they played about 1,500 possessions, which is a lot. That's about a 15-game sample size, basically. And they were negative 0.1. So they like basically had a 0 net rating. They basically played even. Can Kyrie Irving help take that to another level with adding Klay Thompson, adding Quentin Grimes, adding Najee Marshall, having the, PJ and Gafford and the 48 minutes of centers and all that? Can they make those possessions better? Because that goes back to our question before about Luka maintaining his health and him not playing 40 minutes in a regular season game in a stretch. But I think it starts with Kyrie. Can he help take those lineups to another level so that Luka doesn't have to carry as much? Yeah,
I think that's why. And I'm just going to, before people jump in the comments, I'm going to assume you're saying, can the pieces around Kyrie help him in the non-Luka minutes?
I think it starts with him.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think people might interpret that as you being like Kyrie wasn't good enough in those minutes.
That's fine.
Okay, all right. I'm just you know what you're signing yourself up for down there.
I just think that if they're going to be better, then it starts with him maybe taking an adjustment to how he does it. But I also think that the players around him will be better and help them be better in those moments too.
Yeah, this to me is more of like a Klay Thompson question almost.
Could be,
where it's like, how does his minutes look, and is it staggered? Is it we want Klay out there more with Kyrie by himself because you know what Luka can do with whoever's on the court? Let's get more spacing for Kyrie so we don't have situations like against the Thunder or Celtics where they can just throw all the wings on him and there's just no room for him to operate whatsoever. But yeah, it's especially if, like you said, if they really do try to limit Luka minutes and try to ensure that he's healthy, those non-Luka minutes are going to be very important over the course of the regular season. So maybe just a more assertive Kyrie, because that's who he was all season long, where I'm just going to coast a little bit, feel this game out, and then I'll turn it on the second half. Because I also, when it comes to the Luka stuff, I've been vocal about this. I hate the 12-minute quarter place like rotation for him. I think it sucks. It doesn't make any sense. I really dislike it. And they went away from it for a bit there, and I think that was right. And so in those first quarter minutes, 4 minutes where it's Kyrie and no Luka, Kyrie's got to be assertive.
Yeah, he can't wait until the second half to start getting on, or he has to figure out how to use this new lineup that's going to be around him, and maybe he doesn't have to go off for that lineup to be better. And so that's why I think it comes down to Kyrie, is how does he get that group around him to be better than they were last year, because that group wasn't as good as they were last year. But the 12-minute Luka thing you mentioned is he played 12 minutes in the first quarter, then plays like half of the second quarter, then plays 12 minutes in the third, and then came in after after a couple minutes in the fourth. But yeah, I'm interested to see how Kyrie approached that, and hopefully with Kyrie too, the load will be lessened. Having a Dinwiddie, having a Klay Thompson, where it's not on him to like, all right, you got to 20 points in this quarter, or else we're not winning this game, which is what it came down to a lot last year in the regular season. Yeah,
agreed. That's an interesting. I'm looking at this right now. Like Luka and Kyrie on the floor together were plus 10 in the regular season. Like, wow.
Yeah, they were good.
They were dominant.
They were very good last year.
Please stay healthy.
The Mavs were very good defensively at the end of last season. They were 17th for the whole season, but the last couple months they were number one. My big question for the Mavs roster is the defense as good as last season, and how good? Can the defense maintain what they were at the end? Or was that just a end of the year sprint? We're going for it, where everybody's locked in, which is what this Mavs defensive scheme is. It's like, all right, when everyone's locked in, it works. When guys are just like, like just playing regular season pace, then it doesn't work because all of a sudden you have one weak link and it just hurts you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I guess that kind of goes back to organizationally how they view the regular season, and if it's going to be a sprint, they will not be the number one defense. I mean, that would be incredible. They're not going to be the number one defense, but if they're, I think that they could be around the top 10. And when it gets to crunch time, I think that they're a team that can lock in defensively. So can they be around the top 10 mark? It's really going to depend on what Klay looks like defensively, whether or not PJ's ready for what will inevitably be a bigger ask of him defensively, and if Lively develops more into this comfortable, real like floor general defensively, and going into year 2, where he's just more comfortable moving around in space and really being that anchor.
And communicating. I think him being like a communicating leader, and like Kyrie talked about that last year, where he is the guy. Like, I don't know if you can hear. Can you hear my dog?
Yeah.
We're playing tug right now. This is better than the alternative of him barking out the window.
He's like, Nick, please.
Like, we've been here. I've been in this room for so long. But I think this does come down to Lively, because that's the answer. Yeah. It's can Klay be good enough, and can Lively be excellent, and can be, what we talked about on Monday. Can he be in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation, where you go, man, this Mavs team is top 7, top 5 in defense, and it's because of Lively.
And I feel like we forgot, Lively played 55 games. Like he
missed a bunch.
He missed a lot of time, and a lot of it was like weird freak injuries. There wasn't a lot of like, oh, he's got like a back thing. Like that's the stuff that's spooky. It was this guy fell into his knee, this guy hit him in the face, this guy fell on his ankle. Like it was a bunch of just really weird stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully that's better. If I was going to come up with questions about Lively, it would be that. I also wonder how much, one of my other Mavs questions was, how much does depth help them? Because we have not seen, I mean, you just look at this Mavs depth. Like we have not seen a Mavs team this deep, where you go across the board and you go, man, there's like guys in the third string that I feel confident could play minutes. Exum, Hardy, Dwight, like that could actually play real minutes, and you feel good about it for an NBA team, and they probably won't.
Yeah. No, this is a very deep team, and it will help them, because inevitably, like, let's just call it what it is. Luka's not a guy who's going to play 80 games in a season.
Yeah.
And he really shouldn't. Kyrie's never really been that guy either in recent years. I mean, we already talked about Lively. I mean, Klay's getting older too, so you don't really want him playing 82 games. So the more depth you have, the better. And if you're healthy going into the playoffs, it'll be interesting to see what your 8-man rotation looks like, who's on the chopping block, who's not getting minutes. But for the regular season, yes, you want all that depth. And I guess that kind of answers my question. Like, they view this as, we want to be really good in the regular season, when we want to make sure, if we give Luka rest, that we're not just punting this game like we have in years past, where Luka's not playing, we are punting. We are not. This is not a game we expect to win.
And that's one of the things that Reggie and I talked about a couple days ago. Is this team is better insulated to withstand some absences. Right,
yeah,
where
for sure
Lively misses a game at the beginning of last season, the team fundamentally changes. Right, Luka misses a game, the team probably fundamentally changes again still, but at least you have some creators that can help you and fill in those gaps while he's gone.
Yeah, man, it was so sad how, if Lively didn't play early last season, the team was just cooked. I mean, they were cooked without him. I forgot what the stats were, but they were insane early on.
It was bad. And that's when we were like, is he the third most important player on this team already?
I'm not going to lie. I said something earlier this season where I got cooked, but I was like, I think he's the second most important player. And
I do remember that.
That upset a lot of people. But it was also the time where it was like, they cannot win if he doesn't play.
They were 22-14 before the trades with Lively. That was a 50-win pace before the trades.
Yeah.
So they were a 50-win team, and then all of a sudden the trades happened, and they got way better, but
yeah,
man. There you go. Go check out Slightly Biased on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow. I think I'll have Dana Larson on to talk more about Mavs stuff. We did the episode with Reggie yesterday, so go check out that one if you haven't listened to it. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Make Locked On NBA your second listen today. Great stuff all the time. I'm there on Thursdays with Pat. Peace out. Boom.
Make Slightly Biased your third.